You can't score a goal by yourself. You can't stop a goal by yourself. You won't win a championship or you won't win a match by yourself. And so we need to be very intentional with how we project that, and letting these kids know that we're very intentional with how we try to have success on the pitch and how we try to have success in the community.
Welcome to Fit Kids Conversations. I'm your host, David Jacobson. Today I'm with Trennis Jones, the Vice President for Community Impact at Austin FC, the Major League Soccer club. Thanks for being here today, Trennis.
David, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Excited to talk with you. So first off, I want to have you explain relatively in brief, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, your own athletic journey. I know you played basketball for Colorado Buffaloes. Congratulations on your one NCAA tournament win this
Go
year.
Buffs, go Buffs, yes.
All right, let's hear it as far as your upbringing in Austin, how that led to UC and your career since.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Austin, born and raised. Sports has always been something that's important for me personally because of my family. Having a professional, player that's involved, having my grandfather be a Negro League player, having my uncle be a head basketball Division I coach. All of those things are just kind of what I was born into, and so sports and specifically basketball was something that the Jones family did. But basketball was always my love, will always be my love, and so I had the opportunity to play at the University of Colorado, for 4 years, and it was a great opportunity to, challenge myself to get better, but also, just the experience of being able to play at that level and the relationships that come with it, the experiences that come with it. So was able to transition once I realized that I was probably at the end of the actual playing part into a career in sports. And so being able to serve as a sports agent for a company called Octagon, representing basketball players, placing them in lots of different countries around the world, including the United States and in the NBA. Transitioning from there to the front office of the Phoenix Suns, where I was part of a group that was putting together the team, making sure that if someone got hurt, who do we call up? How do we recruit? Free agents, all of these other things that kind of come to as part of that basketball business. Was able to transition to a nonprofit called Positive Coaching Alliance that worked to create a healthier environment around youth sports, and now being VP of Community Impact at Austin FC. So sports has been uniquely good to me, and it's important, I think, for me to make sure that I'm paying forward the blessings that I think I've been able to receive.
Talk a little bit about your actual role at Austin FC. What are the community impact activities and how does that intersect with youth?
Sure. So first off, I think that the role requires that, I view our community impact group as a bit of a peninsula, right? We're stuck between the marketing team where, that's the group that helps us amplify, tell the story of the club and create fandom right around our club that's only in its fourth year of playing. And the sponsorship, the partnership element, right? You've got to pay for the thing that you want to do. And my job is to make sure that the North Star is impact. The North Star is the people that we're serving. And so I get the privilege of being able to not only tell a story, but also make sure that it's paid for. And so that's the element. I guess that's kind of the administrative definition, I suppose, of what I do. But to get even deeper, the work that I do is pillared off into three segments. One being equity, knowing that we are going to identify what people need, ask them what they need, and then provide that support. Full stop. That's what equity means. That's what we view it as, and that's what we will continue to do. Sustainability. Our logo is a tree that has leaves on it, and Austin is a very environmentally conscious place, and so a lot of the work that we do around making sure that we're protecting and celebrating our environment. And then lastly, creativity. How do we make sure that the artists and the musicians, typically the places that get defunded pretty quickly, are being celebrated, right? We can claim, the coolness of it, but if you're not investing in that young woman that can paint or that young man that can play, then we're going to lose that gift and lose that blessing pretty quickly. And so those are the three elements that I think that at least our community impact team tries to work within.
That's great. I'll also talk about clinics, I think you mentioned, and the way you all impact youth, especially on the health and fitness level, and what is some of the content within that that you feel is most helpful to youth?
Though we will deliver clinics and perform clinics and create those opportunities for kids to continue to play, big element for us is the cultural element of it, making sure that these kids understand, even at a specific level with soccer, right? There's 11 people on the pitch at one time. Each of those 11 people need to be celebrated individually for us to have collective success. Typically, you can't really interchange the positions, right? Our goalkeeper and our scorer, intentionally are in those positions, and we need to lean in on them, love in on them, to make sure that they're the best that they can be at that position for us to have collective success. And so, the big element of what we tell young people is that they need to be specific in that, right? Like it's okay to want to individually, pull your weight, do your job, play your position, and be really good at it. But know that you're part of something that's larger. You can't score a goal by yourself. You can't stop a goal by yourself. You won't win a championship, or you won't win a match by yourself. And so we need to be very intentional with how we project that, and letting these kids know that we're very intentional with how we try to have success on the pitch and how we try to have success in the community.
Also, I'm curious, like how that's presented to the kids in the sense that is it really all that explicit, or does it kind of seep in through the more soccer oriented, straight up soccer oriented content of those clinics?
Sometimes you press pause and you say, "Hey, look, this is intentional, right? On our logo, there are 11 leaves, right?" As we talk about how specific and how intentional those things were and are. And so hopefully some of these things are evident, but we like to try to weave it into just naturally how, a child can download information, right? Make it as simple as possible. But sometimes we'll pause and say, "Hey, look, this isn't random. This is done intentionally, and it's done intentionally for these reasons." And so, it allows us, I think, mention again what was said previously because it was said and we defined it previously, right? So, because anyone can roll out a soccer ball and have them kick it, but if they're not getting the human element of it, if they're not learning how to define success for themselves, as opposed to whatever they see on the Instagrams, then I think we're probably not doing our job.
Do does the matter of ethnicity come up? I mean, you must have a racial mix, ethnic mix in the kids you serve, and how's that addressed?
Absolutely. I think part of it is using soccer, I think, as the carrot. When we go into a school, we talk about, having a superpower being bilingual. There are places that try to turn that off in kids. So if you were living in a pocket that someone is telling you to speak less of your own culture or to not appreciate, love in on your own culture while, learning about others, then that person is not probably here for your healthy development, right? And so we acknowledge that that is a beautiful thing. There are 11 countries represented on our roster, and they come from different walks of life. Their countries are in different places currently, but they are all on the same team. And for us to have success, it's going to require respect, curiosity, conversation, relationship, for those guys, for those men, to be able to become the best version of our team, in this year, right? And so we're very intentional with making sure that kids, especially across the board, understand that we have to celebrate those cultures because that's what brings the richness. I think of any group. If you were monolithic, I don't, there's going to be a cap on whatever you can accomplish together. But I think when you have the diversity that I think is needed, especially in these days, we got to call that out and not be scared to say that these are our values and we're going to represent them and we're going to tell you why.
I also want to talk a bit about the overall impact of health and fitness on overall youth development. So even, whether it's outside of soccer, even if it's outside of Austin FC, whatever, why is it important for kids to exercise, be fit, be healthy in your experience?
It's the best way, I think, for your body to be in the best spot, right? Like, I just think that being able to get some of those, the ants in the pants that we all have, out. The best way to make sure that you're getting rid of stress is to use your body to work out, right? To do something physical. And so that's the reminder that we have. We try to build programs in and around getting kids involved, but also from an adult standpoint, how are we using sports to show that transitional period that is necessary for all of us to experience, and knowing that sports is a microcosm of society. There's a way that we can tell the story of how it's done properly. But it starts with just people getting outside and doing things together. And so, it's important again for our mental, our physical, our emotional, our spiritual well-being, to make sure that our bodies, our temples, the only one we get, is taken care of well. And for us to be thoughtful about the holistic health of all of us, and that includes your mental health.
I know you're a sports dad, so would love to hear a bit about how you bring this to your daughter and her sports life, and maybe any kind of hurdles or challenges you faced, whether with coaches, whether with the school environment or anything else like that, that would be of use to our coaches and parents listening here.
Well, that's a loaded question because I'm really good at telling other people what to do. It gets a little washy when I have to actually make it consistent or at least apply it in my own life, right? So let's acknowledge that all of us need grace. All of us are going to fall short. All of us could use a pause button every so often, right? So I think let me just acknowledge that. I think for me, it's been important for me to realize that the little girl that I had the privilege of bringing up with my wife is different than I am. I think she's kinder. I think she wants to pass the ball more than I did as a kid, right? I was the kid that needed to be reminded to be teammates. And I was like, well, wait a minute, but what if I shoot better? Well, shouldn't I just be shooting all the shots if I shoot? Like all of those things that I needed some lessons on. She passes more when she maybe should be shooting. And I need to realize that she is a different person. I've had to realize that, right? Even in those moments of disappointment, I think sometimes that's the difficulty. We think that this thing is easy, or that conversations are had when they win, right? Like, no, it's the part that where your kid is having difficulty, or maybe not having as much joy as they want to. And so I think for me, it's about acknowledging that she is different. Seeing her kind of turn on and know what she wants to do is important. And so I'm very responsive to what her needs are versus me going in with some level of agenda. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Here's the lesson you need to hear from me today. She's not ready to hear it then. And so, I've had to apply that in my relationship with her, where she knows that, yeah, like if we're going to do something, we're going to do it well. We're going to do it hard. We're going to do it to our fullest extent. But it's not the end of the world. We're out here to have fun. But yeah, I want you to run hard. I want you to compete. And that's what I'm going to celebrate. I care about the result. I hope you have good results. But ultimately, I know those good results are connected to good habits, and a good habit is playing hard. A good habit is having joy. And you're going to maximize yourself if you're both playing hard and seeking some level of joy in whatever you're doing.
Because Fit Kids is sport agnostic. It's essential physical literacy for basically K-8 kids. And I would love to hear your take on the importance of that broad expanse of physical capabilities and physical literacy and its importance in developing athletes and people.
Diversity of experience is essential in any of our own development, right? And I think when you ask that question, it reminds me of my opportunity that I had with the Phoenix Suns and assessing guys' talent, right? These guys are close to being NBA players, or are NBA players in some cases. And some of them were very unique and very specific in whatever it is that they chose to do, just basketball, or just a type of basketball. And it made it really hard for them to be put onto the floor, and it made it really hard for them to adapt to certain things because they just knew one thing. And we were looking for people that had different experiences. Because I think number one, I think it activates different parts of their body, but it also allows them to, I think, respond and know how to pivot and know when these things happen that you've got to be able to be flexible in the position that you play, the way that you play, how we choose, how we ask you to play the role that you're supposed to be playing. All of these things require flexibility. And if you don't have that experience, if you haven't played another sport, makes it really hard for you. I'd also say from a leadership standpoint, we oftentimes tell kids this all the time. And even when I was a sports agent, we would see this where, you know, sometimes being a better leader being a good leader, it's important for you to be a follower as well, and knowing that, like, okay, cool, basketball is my thing, and I played football, and I wasn't the greatest, but I know how that leadership took place. I either appreciated it or I didn't, and so I can take those experiences to the sport that I end up, maybe playing the most. And so if your kid has the ability to be a follower, it's okay for them to kind of go back to the sport that they normally like the most or what have you. But when they are in that leadership position, they can have a level of empathy, and they can be thoughtful about the people that are on the receiving end of whatever it is their leadership is. And I think that that's just the diversity of experiences is a requirement if you want to just activate, your best self.
Well, Trennis, we've got just a couple minutes left. I want to give you a chance to sound off on any other topics that you've got burning in your hearts or minds. So go ahead.
Typically, when we're talking about these things, and certainly sports in general, but as it is connected to larger humanity, I am always reminded of the African proverb ubuntu, which basically means my humanity is connected to others, my success is connected to others, and so that works, I think, on the sports field, right? Like, are you serving your teammate? Are you giving them the best position to be successful? But also, how does this, scale up into, humanity and how you deal with people in real life, and knowing that, your success is not just yours. You have to be connected and be thoughtful of others. And so the hope is that those that are participating in sports, especially through Fit Kids and other organizations like that, if we can be thoughtful about teaching the babies that it's important for them to be able to share, that's actually where the best success comes from. And maybe they can become better humans, they can be better leaders, and they can be, what this society needs to continue to progress.
I like that. You brought it, man. I appreciate it. Trennis, thanks for joining me again today, and really appreciate you being here.
David, always a pleasure.